Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Clear and Casual, the podcast that helps people who want to be clear, confident, and prepared to communicate with confidence in English. I'm your host, Peter.
And I'm Hailey. It's great to have you with us. Today, we're tackling a topic that we hear about all the time: how to speak up confidently in work meetings.
The meeting. It can be a really intimidating place, can't it? Especially when you're communicating in a second language. You're surrounded by colleagues, maybe your manager, and everyone is talking quickly.
Exactly. And there are so many common fears. You might worry about interrupting someone, or that your idea won't sound smart enough, or that you'll make a grammar mistake.
All of those are completely normal.
They really are. So the first thing we want to say is, if you feel this way, you are not alone. Almost every professional learning English feels this pressure, but we're here to help you change that.
That's right. And our goal today isn't about speaking perfect, flawless English. It's about something much more important: speaking with confidence. It's about sharing your valuable ideas and showing your team who you are.
So let's start with a big question. Why is speaking up in meetings so important for your career? Peter, what do you think?
Well, it really comes down to one word: visibility. When you speak in a meeting, you become more visible to your colleagues and to your managers. They see that you are engaged, that you are thinking critically about the topic, and that you have ideas to contribute.
That's so true. Visibility builds trust. When people hear your perspective, they start to see you as a knowledgeable and valuable member of the team. And that trust is essential for getting more responsibility and eventually for promotions.
Right, but there's a big problem. What happens if you stay silent?
That's the tricky part. Even if you are listening carefully and have great ideas, your silence can be misunderstood. People might think you're not interested, that you're unprepared, or even that you don't have an opinion.
Exactly. It's often not true, but it can be the perception. Your unique background, your experience, your perspective, that is something the team needs to hear. Your ideas matter.
They absolutely do. And contributing doesn't mean you have to deliver a long, perfect speech. It can be as simple as asking a smart question or agreeing with a colleague's point and adding a small detail.
That's a great point, Hailey. It's about participation, not perfection. So we know why it's important. Now for the how. Let's get into some practical, useful phrases you can start using in your very next meeting.
I love this part. Having a few go-to phrases ready can make a huge difference. It's like having a key to open the door to the conversation. So what's our first area?
Let's start with one of the hardest moments: entering the conversation or interrupting politely. You have something to say, but you don't want to be rude.
That's a big one. A great simple phrase is, "Can I jump in here?" Or "May I add something quickly?" It's polite and signals that you have a relevant point.
Another one I like is, "If I could just say one thing on that point." It shows you're directly responding to what was just said. Let's do a quick role play. Hailey, imagine you're talking about sales numbers.
Okay, so as we can see, the Q3 numbers are looking quite strong, especially in the European market.
Sorry to jump in, Hailey, but if I could add something quickly, the marketing campaign we launched in August seems to be a big reason for that success.
See, it feels completely natural and respectful. It connects your idea directly to the conversation.
Okay, so you've successfully entered the conversation. Now, how do you share your idea clearly?
A wonderful phrase for this is building on what name said. This shows you were listening and that you're being collaborative. For example, building on what Peter said about marketing, I think we could try a similar strategy in Asia.
That's a fantastic one. It makes the other person feel good, too. You can also say something simple like, "I have an idea," or "Here's a thought."
Right. Okay, next up, agreeing or disagreeing politely. Agreeing is usually easy. You can say, "I agree with that," or "That's a great point."
But disagreeing, that's where people get nervous. The key is to be respectful. Instead of saying, "You're wrong," you can say, "I see your point, but I have a slightly different perspective."
That's excellent. Another soft way to disagree is to ask a question. For example, "That's an interesting approach. Have we considered what would happen if..." This opens a discussion instead of shutting one down.
Okay, two more key situations. First, asking for clarification. Many people are afraid to do this because they think it makes them look like they weren't listening, but it's the opposite.
Yes, asking for clarification shows you're engaged and want to understand fully. You can say, I want to make sure I understand. Could you explain what you mean by synergy?
Or a great phrase is, just to be clear, are you suggesting we move the deadline? It confirms understanding and shows you're paying attention to the details.
Okay, and our final phrase category, buying time to think. Someone asks you a tough question and your mind goes blank. What do you do?
Don't panic. You can use a filler phrase to give your brain a moment to catch up. A really powerful one is, that's a great question. Let me think about that for a second.
That one is so good. It compliments the person who asked, and it makes you look thoughtful and deliberate, not slow or unprepared. You're taking the time to give a good answer.
So, just to recap the phrases, we have ways to enter a conversation, share an idea, agree or disagree, ask for clarification, and buy time to think. That's a powerful toolkit.
It really is. But knowing the phrases is only half the battle. The other half is the internal part, the confidence strategies you use before and during the meeting.
Let's talk about that. How can our listeners prepare mentally?
My number one tip is to prepare one thing, just one. Before the meeting, look at the agenda and think of one question you want to ask or one point you want to make.
One thing. That feels so achievable. It takes the pressure off of feeling like you have to be a brilliant speaker throughout the whole meeting. Your goal is just to contribute that one thing.
Right, and once you've done it, you can relax and just listen. Okay, but what happens if you're in the middle of speaking and you lose your words? Your mind goes blank.
First, breathe. It happens to native speakers all the time. Just be honest and calm. You can say, apologies, I lost my train of thought for a moment. Or let me rephrase that. People are very understanding.
Totally. And what about making a mistake? Maybe a grammar mistake or saying the wrong word.
The key here is not to panic or apologize too much. If it's a small mistake, just keep going. Nobody will notice. If it's a bigger one that changes the meaning, just correct it calmly. Sorry, I meant to say increase, not decrease, and then move on.
That's such good advice. Your reaction to the mistake is more important than the mistake itself. I also want to give a special tip for our listeners who are remote workers. Speaking up on a video call can be even harder.
Definitely. My advice is to use the tools that the platform gives you. The raise hand feature is your best friend. It's a clear, non-disruptive signal to the meeting host that you have something to say.
Yes. Or you can type a short message in the chat, like, I have a point to add on this topic. The host will see it and can invite you to speak. It's a low-pressure way to get your turn.
Ultimately, all these strategies are about focusing on progress, presence, and courage, not perfection.
I love that. Progress, presence, and courage. Okay, as we get ready to wrap up, let's summarize the key ideas from today's episode.
All right. First, we talked about why speaking up matters. It's about visibility, building trust, and showing your value, which is essential for your career growth.
Then we gave you a whole toolkit of practical, real-world phrases for joining conversations, sharing ideas, disagreeing politely, and more.
And finally, we shared some confidence strategies, like preparing one point before a meeting and how to recover calmly from a mistake.
The most important reminder is that confidence is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. You don't have to suddenly become the most talkative person in the room.
Absolutely. So here is our challenge to you, our listeners. In your very next work meeting, try just one thing, one small step.
It could be as simple as using the phrase, that's a great point, to agree with a colleague, or preparing one question and asking it. That's it.
Start small, celebrate that small win, and build from there. Remember, your voice deserves to be heard. You are a valuable part of your team, and you belong in the conversation.
You absolutely do. Thank you so much for joining us today on Clear and Casual. We believe in you, and we're cheering you on.
Before we go, we actually have a question from one of our listeners that we wanted to address. We love hearing from you all, so please keep sending in your questions.
Absolutely. The question comes from a listener named Carlos in Brazil. Carlos asks, what if my boss is the one who interrupts me? It feels disrespectful to interrupt them back.
That's a tough situation, Carlos, and a very common one. In this case, you can use a technique called re-entry. After your boss has finished their point, you can politely bring the conversation back to your idea. You could say something like, if I could just finish my thought from a moment ago, or just to go back to my earlier point. It's respectful, but also assertive.
Carlos, I hope that we know that you are going to be confident and successful in your next meeting.
That's all we have for today. Thank you for joining us today. Talk to you all later.
Bye.